All right, welcome back to Bengals Backstage. Local12.com digital reporter and editor Richard Skinner joins us. Bengals first win of the year, 33-25, first game with fans in the stands. And the first half of that game, really, the Bengals left some stuff out there, and it looked like we were just going to get another 60 minutes of, oh my gosh, this is happening again.
I mean, it really felt like that. You know, you had the one touchdown call back by penalty. You had the one drive that was aided by 3 penalties for 44 yards for Jacksonville. You didn't take advantage of that first turnover in Jacksonville territory. 3 plays into the game, the Jordan Evans interception. And it felt like, okay.
The Miles Jack pick in the end zone.
Yeah, Miles Jack pick in the end zone where Drew Sample probably should have fought a little harder for the football, but all of a sudden the light bulb went off. I mean, that was a different team from the last drive of the first half through the end of the game. It looked like a competent team. Some of it felt like Jacksonville lost a player every single play. I'm not sure they had 22 guys left to play the game at the end, but still, it was still a really good performance from late in the first half on.
When you look at the performance that Joe Mixon had, and then after the game, it seemed as if it was more of a touch-and-go situation than it appeared. He was in the hospital last night. He said he slept on it wrong and made the decision at 11 a.m. to play. An incredible performance given what he said after the game.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it popped into my email yesterday that they, put him as questionable on the injury report, and it wasn't anything that happened on Friday, so you're thinking, what in the world could this be all about? And then, Sunday comes, and it did sound like, around 11 o'clock he was going to play. The inactives came out, he was going to play. And then to really ride him like they should ride him when he doesn't have a chest injury was more amazing to me. I don't think that should be underestimated of what he did with still playing through an injury, touching it 31 times and really being a workhorse when they needed him to be when they were trailing and then took control of the game.
It seemed as if the offensive line today, without question, plays better than it has all year. And there was another guy in it at right guard, and that was Alex Redmond, called up from the practice squad. This was a guy who, for lack of a better term, was kind of left for anybody to claim.
That's right.
Nobody did. And was it as simple as that? What did they play better to a man?
Yeah, I thought they played better to a man. I mean, watching one-on-one battles, I didn't see people getting whipped on a consistent basis. But let's face it, he was the new piece to the puzzle. And the one thing I said at one point was, boy, I sure haven't noticed Alex Redmond. Then the one time, when I did notice Alex Redmond, the 3rd and 1 run by Joe Mixon, he took the tackle in the hole and literally turned him sideways. Joe went right behind him and goes all the way for the touchdown on the 3rd and 1. That's a good time to get noticed when you're making a really good block. And so, listen, Alex started 15 games 2 years ago. They ran for 1,000 yards behind Alex. Look, is he a 10-year starter at right guard? I don't know, but I've seen guys in this league, Jed, who get a second or third chance, and suddenly you look up and you go, how's that guy still playing? He must be pretty good. And so, good for Alex. He took advantage of an opportunity that maybe he was never thinking he was going to get again and played really well.
When you look at the defensive side of the ball, they've been ravaged by injuries. Geno Atkins, Mike Daniels going on IR, so he's out for at least 3 weeks, maybe longer. Mackenzie Alexander, Logan Wilson, the rookie linebacker who had an interception last week, he didn't play because of a concussion. So this is a unit that they made some significant improvements to and brought some guys in, to say nothing of Trey Waynes having not played. This is a team that's sort of kind of figuring it out as well.
Yeah, and they play good in stretches, right? For an early part of the game, stretch-wise, the penalties are what did them in. It wasn't really the way they played, but 3 penalties for 44 yards on a 75-yard drive. Then the 2-minute defense again at the end of the first half reared its ugly head.
Right.
And then all of a sudden to start the second half, you force a punt. They get 12 yards in the first 2 drives, and because the Bengals start with the ball, they go touchdown, field goal, and because the defense went stop in between all that, you outscore them 17-0 and take control of the game. And then got a little dicey at the end when Jacksonville drove down against that 2-minute defense. They did a great job, I thought, of clock management, of really making them kick the field goal or go for one more play. I think that they managed that about as well as you could. But it's weird. It's not consistent enough yet. And against good teams, that's what's going to still get them.
Is it too early is it too early for me to ask an AJ Green question?
No, it's not, because I'm writing about it.
Okay. Then I'll ask an AJ Green question. What's going on with AJ Green?
I honestly think it's the injuries and the age just have caught up, and you thought the rust was going to get shaken off, and maybe it still can. We still are only 4 games in, and I'm not making an excuse, trust me, because I'm writing about it I'm wondering if we're seeing the beginning of the end for the guy. I hope we're not, but he doesn't get separation. You can argue Joe should have hit him maybe on that first throw, but I could also argue he's thinking that's the A.J. Green he remembers seeing at one point and throwing it just a hair too far, and A.J. had no explosion. there were third-string cornerbacks guarding him without any separation. And so I don't think it's injury-related right now. I know he went down on the one play and nicked up his wrist. I don't even think he came back, but some of that was they were running the ball at that point in the game anyway. 4 games in, I'll give that his preseason is now over. Let's see what you got moving forward. But I have joked with some people after the game of when do we see him as a healthy scratch? I hope it doesn't come to that, but I mean, right now, he's certainly not helping you.
No, he's not, and it seems as if he's kind of getting opportunities, and then they just have to look elsewhere.
And I'll be honest, I think they're forcing some opportunities, and I get it. Listen, if I'm going to throw a 50-50 ball to A.J. Green in his prime, I'm going to feel pretty good he's going to come down with it. But right now, 50-50 balls, he's not coming close to, and really, again, there's no explosion, no separation, no getting in and out of breaks. He's had a hard time, it sounds like, in his own words, of kind of grasping the concept of this offense, and he is new to it. I mean, he did not play in it last year. He did not take reps in it last year until the end a little bit, but not enough to have significance. So I'm going to still give it a little time, but I'm not sure I give it a whole lot more time because, look, T. Higgins is emerging. Tyler Boyd's Tyler Boyd. At some point, I still got to see John Ross when he's healthy. I got to see one more John Ross experience to see if it works. I know I'm probably on an island with that, but I got to see one more, don't I? Don't I?
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. It's 2 inactives in a row for John. I don't want to end on a sour note. They did get their first win, and guess what? You get the Ravens, who, against the Chiefs last week didn't look great. Today against Washington, I think they did what they needed to do.
Wasn't impressive, but yes.
Right. They kind of business-like win. What does this team got to do defensively? That was the problem a year ago, containing Lamar Jackson. Can they do it this year?
That's a great question. Akeem Davis-Gaither, welcome to the NFL. Let's see what you got. Jermaine Pratt, did you learn your lessons from last year? Josh Bynes, you played against that cat in practice, so you know some of the things Lamar Jackson can do. He's obviously improved as a passer. The one thing I will say is this bunch of guys, and Jed, you've been on some of the Zooms, not all of them, but enough to probably grasp where they're at. They have felt like one win is going to burst the dam and that they're going to start rolling some wins together. What a great opportunity then to go prove that that's true by going to Baltimore and winning. I think it's an extraordinarily tall task in a perfect world. But still, they've said it to a man, and maybe today is all they needed to do is understand what it feels like to win and how to execute in order to get that win. We'll see.
Okay, Richard Skinner. Our man on the Bengals beat. You can catch all of his work on local12.com, including the Skinny podcast. Skinny, thanks so much.
You bet.
We'll be right back.